Good day, warriors. You guys know who I am. I'm Dale Pinkert, the one and only, thank God. How's everyone doing today? Want to start off, we have a couple interviews today. Norm Linsky will be with us in a few minutes, and then in the regular guest spot, Dario Mofardin at Trader Underline Mars. Guy's been around a long time and has a very huge reputation. Also, with Norm being with us, you know we're near some turning points astronomically. I want to start off with the Euro Pound, something I talked about yesterday, that we needed the RSI to stay under 70 as it made new highs. So we have a clear divergence here and maybe a third drive. This still is not ideal for me. I'm going to be patient and wait for one more push up. Obviously under 80.50, I missed it. And on the 4 hour, it's pretty glaring. And they cleaned out all the weak longs in the pound yesterday, and the pound's been recovering. So even here on this drive right here, a little bit over 70, but still pretty glaring divergence in Euro Pound. But I'm going to try and be patient for this. So we have a great show lined up. I have a great show lined up for everyone today who's in the house. Hello, Dion, Sinatra, Ziggy, Yevgen, welcome to LAR. Jake, Luca's here. Bart, welcome to LAR. JM, Khalid, Abel. Thanks, Dale is here. Whoever you are, you're welcome. So let's go to work for a few minutes before Norm joins us. Looking forward. Hi, Mystic. How are you, partner? Everyone do okay last night with the BOJ? Everyone hang in there. Ibby's here. Luca. Ray. Okay, Ray. Nice to meet you, Ray. How about a LAR welcome for some of the new handles before we get to the markets? Make sure everyone feels welcomed and at home. So everyone welcome Ray and Art and Evgen. New handles here. Everyone else is a veteran that I see. Welcome to LAR, guys. Wow. Adinda. Adinda, why don't you give me the link that you sent me, shut down Norm's computer. So if you could just post the link in the Hangout, and I'll try sending that one to Norm, please. Thank you. Excuse me. Allergies. Everyone doing okay? You got Lauren Beta. Okay. Thank you, Adinda. Hello, my brother Khalid. Hi, Ziggy. Hi, Jake. How are my trading warrior brothers and sisters? My trading warrior sister being fame of me. Hello, fame. How are you doing? Brooke is in the house again. Is Goldie around? Rick's still on vacation. He'll be back tomorrow. Congratulations, Jake. We're all glad for you. Here's another look from Alex. Alex is excellent. Alex has been with us for about, what, 4 or 5 months now, Alex? How long have you been coming here and sharing your excellent work with us here in Larnau? About 4 months. Everyone thank Alex for this nice 4-hour gold look right here into this resistance area. If we get through here, there is, I think, a chance to rally to put in a right shoulder. But how long have you been coming here and being a humanitarian and sharing your great work with us, Alexandros? I know I interviewed you some time ago, and you decided to come in and hang out with us from time to time. Yeah, it looks like a third drive there. Luca's buying it here. 4 or 5 months. Who agrees with me that Alexandros' Japanese Ichimoku cloud work is excellent and that he's been a great addition to our community? If you agree with me, give me a Y. I think gold could pop. There's my Y. Okay, you guys are deluging me now. Brooke has a look. Pound Swiss, he called this the other day. Pound Swiss from Brooke. Nice call the other day on the Pound Swiss, Brooke. Luca's showing a third drive in the dollar index. I think I've heard of that third drive before. We need one more shot down to 1180 on the FXCM. Thank you, Luca. I don't get it.
All right.
God.
There you
All
go.
right. Okay, before you get going, Norma, I know we're short on time. I'd like to ask you one question because you accurately forecasted the winner of the Super Bowl by So Goes January and what you taught Leibovitz. And based upon what happened in January and the recent rally and recovery that we've had in the S&P, does that still fit in with what you learned from the action in January, or has that been negated? So goes, as goes January, so goes the rest of the year.
It's not clear now.
Okay, that's what I thought. So it worked for the Super Bowl, but not necessarily for the market anymore.
Right, but since we got limited time, I'd like to jump right in here if I could.
Go.
Okay, so you can see my notes now, right?
Yeah, got them.
I know
They're
you're focused.
they're cut off on the right-hand side, but most
Is
of
there
them.
anything we can do about that?
I don't know. You solved it last time by moving it over.
How many inches is it? Is that better?
No, that still has it cut off on the right-hand side.
Okay, there was something we did, I think, last time. Make it smaller. I'll make it smaller.
Okay.
Try that. Is that better?
Yeah, I almost have it all, but there's still some cut out on the right-hand side.
How much is cut off now?
Okay, on the second line, this is a major, and then it's cut off.
Okay, this is a major, It's cut
on
off
the
on the
chart.
right-hand side, okay?
Right.
I
Yes.
go to 125. I'm at 150. How about now? Can you read that?
Yeah, that's got it all. That's got it all.
That's got it all now?
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, your folks like foreign currency. I always make sure I put in some foreign currency. Here's a quick review of last month on the foreign currency front. We had the US dollar. Here's the dates I had for last month, and then I marked them on the chart here. This is the US dollar index, and we hit 5 out of 7 for 71.43%. You can see how it's marked on the chart here. HOM, there's the high of the month. I think it was off one day on the high of the month. And we had these other, I mark them on the chart there, and so forth. So, okay,
Beautiful
here's your,
work.
what's that again?
Beautiful.
Okay. Next is Aussie dollar. Here I gave you Aussie dollar popped up on my radar last month. So I gave you
Yeah.
3 dates, the 7th, the 14th, and the 28th. Here they're marked on the chart here. This is futures, so it's upside down probably from the way you're used to in the Forex, you know.
No,
And
it's the
so I
same.
had, so at 7, 14, 28, I had that
Three
little
for
chart
three.
there. This is a little bit better high there on the second one. And then we had a
Yeah.
very nice low over here for the 28th. You see that?
Nice.
That was
Yep.
3 out of 3 for 100%. I'm going to have to work on getting a little better, right? Okay. Moving ahead to new stuff. Now we got the US dollar. Here I'm giving you the dates now for the dollar coming up. The chart. Can you see the chart on there?
Yeah. Scroll down
Okay.
and scroll up a little bit more. It's not
Okay.
showing the bottom of the chart yet. Okay.
Got it now?
Yeah.
Yep. So you can see we're kind of coming down in kind of a wedge formation here. It looks like maybe a little bit more time, a little bit more price. You might get a low. Okay. Here's your
Okay.
dates right up here. Here's your key dates. Had the 4th, didn't do anything on the 4th, but we got a cluster coming up around the 4th, 15th, and the 18th. There's your next big kind of window, you know, about a week away, you know.
Thank you, Norm.
Yes, sir. Moving ahead. Now we got the general picture, the big picture. We just had this morning, we had a new moon at perigee. This is it's called the syzygy cycle, or sometimes pop culture, they labeled it now a supermoon. This is when the new moon lines up with the apogee perigee cycle. Apogee perigee is the moon at its closest or farthest point. And so these are two lunar cycles that get together. Every 14 months, there's also the opposite cycle, which then would be alternate, would be in the middle at 7 months. If we go back 7 months, we had a full moon, a lunar eclipse. That was a three-way. That was a full moon, lunar eclipse, and perigee. When the full moon and eclipse were with the moon at its closest point. If you remember, that happened on a Sunday night, September 27th. The next morning, the Dow Jones gapped down 300 points.
When the moon is in the seventh house,
Yes, sir.
and
That's
Jupiter aligns with Mars.
Yep, you're singing my song there, Dale. That actually describes my natal chart. Okay.
We know we're not there because the next line is "Then peace will reign the planet," and that's
Okay.
not.
So anyway, so you might want. I've had seen some studies that show that the currencies are lunar sensitive, and my understanding was, Lisa, back when I had a friend do that, he was a skeptic and ran it through his computer and came back surprised to say, "Wow, this lunar thing works pretty well in the currencies." And he said it was especially good on the Japanese yen. So you might want to pay attention to the lunar cycle.
Interesting. You know, I've been called a lunatic.
Okay. Moving ahead here, I know we got limited time. How much time would you say I have, Dale?
20 minutes.
All right, I can do that. All right, the next big event is we're going to have Jupiter align with Uranus. That'll be on Tuesday night, the 12th. And so one of the neat things about this system is not only gives you timing, but it gives you qualitative information like what market should I be looking at. Okay, so we have Uranus is associated with copper, and Jupiter is in Virgo. So Virgo is soybean. So we'll be looking at those charts in a minute. And then we have a huge deal coming up here on the weekend of the, excuse me, the 15th, when we have two big things happen a day apart over the weekend. You heard me talk many times, Dale, about station points. Station points are due to apparent motion. In other words, that's how the planets appear to, what they appear to be doing, stop their motion and reverse their direction. This is like when you're driving in your car doing 60, somebody passes you doing 70, you know intellectually and on your speedometer you're doing 60, you look out your side window, and all of a sudden you have the impression that you may be going backwards by 10 miles an hour. Got it? Got it?
Well, I used to
Einstein
get
talked,
car sick. Car sick.
Einstein talked about that when he described the theory of relativity. He told a story about sitting on a train in a train station. The train next to him pulls out of the station. He knows he's not moving, but he looks out his window and has the sensation that he's going backwards.
Right.
Okay, so if you go out in the night sky.
This is really a highlight of the month.
Absolutely. This window is huge because this is rare that we have two planets turning retrograde a day apart, over the weekend.
It's interesting. It's interesting. It's mid-month because there's a lot of esoteric guys that I followed in the past, Norm, say that markets are poised for reversals mid-month, mid-year, mid-week.
Well, this is specific to this particular time.
Right.
So anyway, have two planets that are potential killers. I mean, not just in the markets, but in real life, out there in the real world. You have Mars, in mythology is the god of war, turning retrograde. Right. And Pluto, Pluto has to do with transformations on the negative side, annihilation, elimination. So you can see, I can't think of any combination that has scared me more than looking at this thing. Right?
So you think there could be some type of geopolitical, military thing, and it's Pluto. Did they use Pluto for coming up with plutonium, which is also annihilating? I
don't think there's anything more powerful than a plutonium bomb, right?
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm considering not even going out and get my mail over the weekend. Right?
And that's the day the IRS deadline.
Yeah. Here's a real quick funny story, about the IRS. They now consider April 15th tax day a holiday in Washington, so the IRS is shut down on tax day. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, so they now have extended the tax to the 18th. You can send your tax returns in on the 18th because the IRS is shut down on the 15th because that's a holiday.
Don't worry, Norm. Trump will make America great again.
There you go. It's Dale. It's like in all the department stores. Our busiest day of the year is the day before Christmas. Let's shut down that day and have a holiday.
Yeah, I know.
Crazy? Huh?
I know. Huh?
Yeah.
Parallel universes. Go ahead.
Only
all right. So we really have to be aware of our positions in the market and our personal situations mid-month. Because this is the first time I've ever heard you voice major concern about an astronomical event since you and I have been talking.
Exactly. I tend to be low key about this stuff. I've been doing this for years and years, and the things come and go. Sometimes people die. That's the way it is. But I think I'm really concerned about this one. Okay, you could have a major terrorist attack or some military attack or who knows what. Okay. Here's the components of this. Mars is turning retrograde in Sagittarius. That has to do with international affairs, trade, transportation. Okay. Then we have Pluto, which is in Capricorn. That could be political, and it's in Capricorn, which also implies the possible seismic activity. You could get earthquakes, volcanoes, all kinds of nasty stuff going on here. You're not going to go on here, and it's
Wow.
Here's the markets that Here's the markets they're associated with. So Mars is in Sagittarius. That's in oats. That'll be oats in the stock market. The stock market is the big basket of everything. So if anything happens, that'll affect the stock market. And nobody cares about oats, so we won't even bother talking about oats.
Mares do. Mares eat oats and does eat oats.
Right, but it's very thin in the oats futures, as you know, Dale. So But I have to, doing my work. I just have to report. I don't stop.
I used to love to trade the oats. They're a great technical market. They used to be.
They work beautiful with my stuff, but you can't. Most people don't care, so because it's so
Yeah.
thin.
Yeah.
And I just have to report. I can't stop at each market and go, gee, do I want to tell people about, I'm doing this for you? But in my letter there, I kind of mechanically go through and report what I see, and then we can figure out later whether you want to do that or not. Now
Before you
Pluto.
continue, Norm, I want everyone who's listening at the minimum contact Norm for a trial and a course because I believe in what Norm does. It's a rare, unique opportunity to learn a discipline that you may think is a bit esoteric, but I've seen many of he just showed you last month. If you had been aware of his dates on the currency, on the dollar index, 3 for 3. So at the minimum, it's zero risk to take his trial and his course, and I believe an excellent investment in your future to have this type of knowledge if you're going to be a trader and looking for market turns during your career. And it's the strongest endorsement. You guys know that I don't normally do this, and I leave it up to you. But Norm has been coming here for a long time, providing great information, and at the minimum, you can go ahead and at least register to take his course because this will be good for you. And this is coming from your coach, Dale Pinker. Go ahead, Norm.
Thank you very much, Dale. And by the way, we were kind of screwed up there on the beginning because of all the technical issues. Some of the new people may not know that I have over 40 years experience. I'm a former Chicago floor trader. I traded on the CBOE and the Board of Trade, and been studying this stuff for, depending upon where you count as my starting point, anywhere from 40 to 50 years. 40 years as a professional. I actually started studying the stock market when I was 15 years old, and I just turned 65, so that's 50 years.
Yeah, that's what
So
I
anyway,
mean.
moving ahead here now, let's break this down. So we have Pluto in Capricorn going to turn retrograde. That's a sort of punctuation mark for Pluto in Capricorn. And so Capricorn is coffee, and then Pluto is cocoa, hogs, and T-bonds. In a little bit here, when we get to the charts, I'll show you an interesting relationship between these markets. Something that if I didn't have anything to show you and just told you, you would think, oh, that Norm is crazy, right? But I can prove it to you. Okay. Well, you might think I'm crazy anyway. Right?
I think that you have wisdom that, when I've interviewed 1,000 people, Norm. Okay, so
Okay.
I think that you have wisdom that is unique for our generation and generations past that new generation traders are ignoring. And I think that it's probably some of the most important things to know because my idol, Paul Tudor Jones, says all the big money is made at the turns. And having a knowledge base of what you teach gives you an idea and a bias for turning points.
Do,
And
do you know
knowing
Paul? Do you know Paul Tudor Jones?
I've spoken to him once. I tried to
Okay.
get him to hire me, but at least I did talk to him, and he is
Do
one
you
of
know
my
his?
trading heroes. What's that?
I used to know his head of research, Peter Borish. Did you know him?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
But he's a legend. He's one of the market wizards, and if he believes, and I think his P&Ls will prove it, that all the big money is made at the turns, then people need to be aware of how turning points happen. They believe in things like fibs. They believe in natural numbers. Then they should also learn what drives fibs and other laws of the universe that harmonically repeat themselves. And that's what your work does.
Okay. Let's. I appreciate that, but let's stay focused here. So I think we got about 7 minutes to go, right?
Yeah.
So here's the stock market. The stock market's a big basket of everything, so it's going to respond to these huge things I was talking about before. And so there's your big dates. You got Tuesday night the 12th and the 15th. And the 15th weekend. And here's some interesting things coming out here at math, some GAN math. Okay, some of your folks might be GAN students, and so we have the high. We had a. If you go look at the S&P chart here, I'll move that up so you can see that better. You can see we had a high in early November, November 3rd to be exact. The market moved down into the 20th of January and made a low there, and then we've been coming back up. Okay.
Yep.
So if you do the Dale, I'm sure you're familiar with the method in technical analysis called symmetry, right?
Yes.
Where you take a movement like this down move, and then you like do a mirror image of that and flip it over, and that would project a change in trend out the same amount of time. So we had 79 days down, 79 days up. Will take you to, I think, tomorrow, the 8th.
Yeah, you know, someone pointed out, yes, there are some guys in our community. Tolson talks about symmetry, and what a great example that you're giving right there. So the symmetry is in time.
And if we break this trend line, we got not just symmetry, we might have cemetery for the stock market. You know,
okay. Yeah. Thank you, Norm.
Could be rather lethal for the stock market. So anyway, moving down to here now. GAN.
1930 in April. I'm looking for 1930 to be visited this month.
Let's say again. Oh, you were going to drop to 1930.
That's my number, my monthly off number.
All right. So GAN was big on square numbers, and so I noticed when I was doing my work that we were coming up to 2,601 days from the March 6, 2009 low, and the S&P bottomed at 666. And that's 51 squared is 2,601 days. That brings you to the 18th of April, which is Monday following the big weekend I've been talking about. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
So there's another confirmation that that's going to be a huge weekend. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of stuff mid-month, man.
There you go. So now we're moving on ahead. Here's because Tuesday night Jupiter aligns with Uranus. Uranus is copper. You might want to keep your eye on the copper market. Here's your copper market.
Okay.
Okay. Coming down here, looks like it has. You can see here. Looks like on the right-hand side, you got maybe a little more time, a little more price. Right now, it looks like as of last night's charts, looks like you might be setting up for a low in a few days. You know, right?
Yeah. Right at support.
Here's your beans. You're from the Midwest. There, you used to didn't you trade on the Board of Trade or something like that?
CME, but I remember the old beans in the teens. We got there a few years ago. Maybe we're going to try it again.
Yeah, that was the old mantra, right?
Yeah, beans in the teens.
They topped in 70, what was it, 73, 74 at I think $12.92.
Right, and didn't we trade 15 to 18 bucks before we came off?
That was a generational top. It took like 30 more years or more to take that top out.
Right, that was like around 2011 when gold was 1900 or something like that.
Which one, the earlier one or the later one?
No, the one that went that took out the generational high.
Oh yeah, well that was we topped in gold in 2011 at 1935, I think 32 something.
I think that's around the same time period the beans topped over, I don't know, 15 bucks.
Anyway, so we got because Jupiter's going to line up with Uranus, and Jupiter's in Virgo, which is soybean sign. You want to watch for a change in trend there on the beans. Also, at the end of the month, one of your favorite things, Dale, is Mercury retrograde. We'll be having Mercury retrograde at the end of April. Mercury is the ruling planet for soybeans. So it's usually, more times than not, it's usually a high and usually bearish for beans during the retrograde 3-week period. Here's your coffee coming up. We're talking about coffee because Pluto's in Capricorn. Pluto's going to turn retrograde in Capricorn. Now, here's the interesting thing. The ruling planet, though, for coffee is Saturn. Saturn turned retrograde on the 24th of March. This high right here, can you see where I'm pointing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm pointing at that high there. That was the 20. That was off by one day. One day. That was the 23rd of March.
That's a huge trade in a short period of time.
Yeah, and that's a big. That's a monster contract. That's 300. Every penny is $375.
And so look, it couldn't fill the gap from October. Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
So anyway, when a planet, the point is when a planet turns retrograde, that's usually bearish for that commodity. Whatever the ruling planet is. Ruling planet for coffee is Saturn. It will turn retrograde on the 24th, 23rd. The market topped out, and it's been going down pretty much ever since. Okay,
Okay.
but watch on the 18th, 15th, we might get some kind of short-term low or something there when Pluto turns retrograde. Unless the
Okay.
market rallies into that weekend, then you'd be looking for a top. That'd be possibly even more bearish for coffee. Now, watch this. Here's cocoa. Remember I said Pluto was cocoa, hogs, and bonds. And
Yes.
there, look at that. There's the 18th of March. You're going to think I'm crazy when I tell you that cocoa and hogs are astrological cousins. So look at this. The cocoa tops on the 18th of March. You see that?
Yeah.
That's when. Okay. Now look
And
at
the
this.
hogs
Here's your.
and the
Look at
hogs
it. Here's
top there too.
now. Here's your
So
hogs, Dale. The
I'm
top.
telling you, that day is the first day I didn't have any hot cocoa with my bacon.
There you go. Exactly.
It's
And you got the
always
kosher
good.
bacon. You got the
Yeah.
kosher bacon right there.
The rabbis spit on it. Go ahead.
You know those guy kosher bacon comes from kosher hogs, right, Dale?
Yeah.
And you know what kosher hog says, right?
Yeah.
It says oink vey,
Chazers.
oink vey. All right. So anyway, there you go. They both topped on the same day, and they're astrologically related in my theory. And so there you go. That's pretty cool. And so anyway, Pluto, which is the ruling planet for these two markets, is going to turn on the weekend of the 15th of April. So
Okay.
there's your two markets there. Keep an eye on those markets. And you got bonds coming up next. By the way, the bonds were off a day or two back in March when they bottomed right here in the middle of March. I think that was the 16th rather than the 18th. Okay. So here's how you get all the goodies, freebies. We got about 1 minute to tell them about the goodies. So you get if you can get a hold of me, please get a hold of me right away. If you want to learn about this amazing, huge stuff coming up here in about a week, we need to get you trained. Get the letter to you and get you the free class, so you learn how all the stuff that's in the letter. Not in addition to the astro stuff, I do some advanced Fibonacci time cycles. I give you a crash course in GAN. And let's see. Oh yeah, and we have the fractals too. I do the fractals too. So that's what that's what Dale was I almost called you Gan there, Dale. So anyway, that's because you're a brilliant guy, right? So anyway, so that's what you were alluding to earlier. Those those forecasting models you were alluding to earlier. Those are all fractal models. The January barometer, the Super Bowl model, and all that. Those are all types of fractal models. Where you take a small piece of something and extrapolate out the bigger picture. So so get a hold of me. Here's my contact information. And you can get the free April letter. I only have a few spots left, and I'm all booked this week. I got a few spots left for next week. I can fit you in. It's a one-to-one class where I can talk to the people on Skype, put my letter up just like this, and then I go through the letter and show you how to use it and how to get the most out of it. And you're going to learn all these different techniques. So here's my contact info. I'm in a beautiful sunny Naples, Florida. And there's my phone is 239-594-3939. That's 239-594-3939. My email is nwinski@embark is EMBARQ or you can reach me on Skype at norm.winski. And don't bother going to my website because it's got it's got an old email address on it. I haven't fixed that yet. So pay attention to the contact information.
Addenda, can you please post that contact information for Norm? And I want the crowd to thank you, Norm. And I also want to get a feeling for how many people are committed to responding to Norm and learning from Norm. Give me a Y if you are. I think I'm going to take your class this time.
I'd love for that.
How about that? So here's my why. Who else in the community is going to get into the class with me so that we could be talking about this more in LAR? And I think it'd be an interesting aspect to add to our community. Give me a Y if you're going to sign up.
How do I do that? I want to put a Y in.
All right. Well, your Y was the interview. So
okay.
I encourage people to do it. Dion says thanks. At the minimum, everyone say thank you, Norm. Norm made you. Pipper's going to sign up. Sinatra's going to sign up. I'm going to sign up.
I love Sinatra. Hey, We'll get Sinatra
Yeah,
to sing "Fly Me to the Moon," right?
yeah. So I think that Goldie would be interested in this kind of stuff, and
Okay.
Mystic would be interested in this kind of stuff. I think Abel should. Okay, someone's skeptical of it. However, he's able to keep his mind open to it. He says thank you. Everyone's saying thank you, and Ibby's going to sign up. So I want to thank you personally, Norm, for all the great work, and you're a watchman for me, and the watchman is I'm going to be on high alert mid-month for a lot of interesting aspects to come into the market. And all I could say is this: I want to end it with this. I respect you, Norm.
Well, thank you, guys. You're terrific, Dale. Terrific guy. Respect you a ton, and it's great being on your show. I hope to help some of your folks.
Thank you, Norm. Have a great weekend, buddy, and stay safe mid-April.
You too, everybody. Yep. I hope. Looking forward to helping some folks out there, and stay safe. Exactly.
Yeah, and
Especially.
I'm gonna come in and take the course with you. Okay,
Okay, great.
brother.
Well, let me
All
know.
right.
Send me an email.
Okay,
Okay.
Norm. Thank you, buddy.
All right. Thanks a lot. Take care.
You too, Norm.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, everyone. That's Norm Winsky. Adinda gave you sign up information. Okay, very good. So we have another webinar. Excuse me. We have another interview, and it's with Dario Mofardin. But I'm going to take a quick 5-minute break, Adinda, because I haven't been able to take a break since we started. And I'm an old man. I have an enlarged prostate. Is that too much information for you guys? At 62 years old, I have to take care of my enlarged prostate and my commodity kidneys. And I'll be back in 5, and we'll be speaking with Dario Mofardin, another elite trader. It is baseball season here in LAR. We have a double header today. As Ernie Banks from the Cubs would always say, let's play two. So so stand by. I'll be back in 5, and we'll be speaking with Dario Mofardin. Thank you, Larians. Okay, guys, I'm going to get ready to speak to Dario. Who enjoyed Norm? At the minimum, he's extremely interesting. And I'm not BSing you. I've seen a lot of his turning points work. And how I know is I've made money off of them. I've made money off of them. Okay? So I pay attention to what he says. So we should have Dario entering the hangout here in a few minutes. I'm telling you, this is going to be another great interview. Hope everyone's having a good day. How's everyone doing? Everyone okay? So guys and ladies, just want to show you that not only men give their wives and girlfriends and ladies flowers, but I was having a little bit of a rough day yesterday, and my wife Ann brought me these flowers. Tiptoe through the tulips. All right, Dario's here. Hey, Dario, how are you, buddy? So nice to meet you.
Yeah, likewise. How are you, Dale?
Yeah, you know, I really didn't have a chance to read about your background until this morning, and I boned up a little bit about your journey, and it's really been, it's impressive. Okay, so
Thank you.
you know, my question is, you know, you were with the Haynes family, and then you were with Lehman. So you were with Lehman when they still existed. So I'm assuming it's, you know, before 2007. I'm guessing you're probably 50-ish or something like that. I know you're not as old as me. I'm a senior citizen, but
I'm
I'm
mid-40s, Dale.
Mid-40. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize, but you were actually
okay.
handling some. You were handling some great accounts,
Yep.
Schlumberger and KKR and Gillette. What were you doing? Handling the hedging for them?
No,
Currency risk?
I was actually an M&A banker for a number of years. So I was
Okay.
doing mostly equity capital markets, um, debt capital markets work, and M&A generally.
Okay. So then get in the time machine with me and tell me how you ended up gravitating towards becoming a trader. I know that you have become an e-waiver, and that's part of your discipline. And
Yep.
sounds like you're a macro guy, so you probably pay attention to correlations and try and put the whole jigsaw puzzle together and see what the market messages are from different asset classes that you study. So tell me, when you first started becoming a trader, how long did it take you to be convinced that Elliott was going to be a main method that you were going to implement?
Well, firstly, thanks for having me on, Dale. I really appreciate it, and I really do appreciate the service you provide to the community. I think it's fantastic, just getting people face to face with traders and put everyone out there. I think that's great. So thanks for that.
Well,
But I actually,
thank you. Well, I'm wearing my Mario Draghi T-shirt provided by Adam Buck at Forex Live. So Mario is going to be playing the guitar pretty soon. So we're going to get to that,
Yep.
Dario. And so
I'm a big
again,
fan of
Elliott Wave.
big fan.
I've interviewed many e-waivers. Okay,
Yep.
and each one of them says that they have their own style, their own interpretation. You know, they e-waivers have disagreements on alternate counts all the time.
Yep.
Tell me why you gravitated towards Elliott Wave, and was it Proctor or R.N. Elliott? I knew a guy in Southern California.
I'll step back into the time machine a little.
Okay.
I actually started trading just outside of high school. Joined up with a buddy of mine whose dad was a trader, and we started trading penny stocks and futures at the ripe old age of 18.
What a combo.
And yeah, exactly. And so I kind of had a passion early on for trading, and I guess when I went to university, and I had a professor there. Well, I was studying business finance, and he was an ex-bond trader. So we used to constantly have discussions about trading and the bond markets and how the world worked. And so I did a business degree, and then my first job out of university was with Portland House, as you said before, and it's basically a private family office in Australia, which at the time they're worth just over $1 billion. So they're effectively a hedge fund manager with their own money, and
Okay.
that was the introduction to me to macro and the whole idea of how the world works and fitting a jigsaw puzzle together. They were investors in Soros and Druckenmiller back in the 90s. Um, and less spectacularly, they were an investor in LTCM in '98. But they
Oh
were
my
big
God.
followers of Paul Tudor Jones, Soros, Druckenmiller, and they
Yeah.
also followed Prechter at the time. Now, I guess for me and what they instilled in me very early on was the idea of a macro environment and really using technical analysis and understanding that price matters in terms of timing and entering trades. So that was really quite important to my development and how I got to where I am today. But step forward, I stayed there at Portland House for about 3 years. I was hired as a macro analyst or a market analyst and economic analyst. And within 3 months, I was given a trading book to trade and also help on the investment committee for the major book for trading as well. So I stayed there for about 3 years and then graduated my MBA about '95 and then went into the world of investment banking, primarily to get an understanding of really how business works, how the world works. So I did that for about 13 years, mostly in M&A in Sydney, Melbourne, Singapore, New York. And it was just a fantastic experience. Got to meet some great people, great connections, and a great understanding of how debt capital markets work, equity capital markets work, and how it all fits together. And that culminated mostly with Morgan Stanley, but that culminated in 2008 when they actually fortuitously closed the Lehman Brothers office in about April, which is before they went bust, which was great, which means, I
You had
went out on
time to prepare. You had time
exactly.
you had time to find another lily pad.
Exactly. And,
Okay.
for me, it was, I went away rock climbing for a few months up in the US, Yosemite, and, I've always loved trading, always had the passion for trading, and always have done it since I was 18, even while I was working as a banker. And I decided to start trading for myself full time. I had enough risk capital, I had a really good understanding of how the world worked, and so I went out on my own.
Did you ever have a blow up where you blew up an account?
No,
Good.
no.
I have. Okay, I plead guilty to it, and it's probably the fact that you started so young, you had so many varied interests, and you had seen so many other people blow up. How would you
Yep.
say that you avoided it? I preach, I actually even sing a song, use less leverage when you trade the market, use wider stops so you don't get picked off. Was it
Yep.
your awareness of leverage that even when you were in drawdown periods, it didn't turn out to be catastrophic for you?
I think I got lucky, quite frankly, because in
Okay.
my first year of trading full time for myself, which was '08, '09, I just had a cracker year, and I was up over 100%, and just and I thought I was indestructible, right? So this is the classic, trader who thinks he knows too much and just thinks he knows how it all works. So first year was
Pride before the
fantastic.
fall, hubris. Pride before the
Exactly.
fall, hubris. Yeah, been
Yes.
there.
And so there was plenty of hubris to go around, and the market, as it does so well, taught me a lesson the next year, and you ended up giving it all back. And then it was like, okay, so I don't know everything. So well, not all back, but most of it. And from then on, it was more about really defined getting back to the focus on risk management, um, and changing my approach to really not trade every day and not intraday trade, and much bigger focus on looking for the fat pitch.
Interesting.
So
Okay, so
because of the
less
macro,
is
and Elliott
less
wave
is
to me is an
more.
overlay. Elliott, yes,
Less is
less is
less is
more,
more. Right.
and I'm a
And
big
the
believer in
waiting's
the
the hard,
payoff pitch.
and the waiting's the hardest part, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, but it's been a few. I've been doing this for a few years now, and it gets far easier. You become more patient, and my time zone doesn't allow me really to intraday the trade that much
Right.
because I'm based in Australia. Not a lot happens in our markets unless it's an Asian denominated event.
Right.
So I'm forced to actually be patient.
You're forced to be a position trader because a lot of the expansion of range, average trading ranges happen in the London and U.S. session.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And things like risk management were drilled into me pretty early on when I was at Portland House. I remember back in '94 when bond yield went from 4 to almost 6%, and we learned pretty early on. Well, I learned pretty early on the impact that has on fund accounts when you have such a wild move like that.
Okay. So what do you mainly trade, Dario? Is FX your central interest, or are you involved in many other asset classes? To me, a chart is a chart is a chart, and the only difference is the title, the leverage, and the beta. So,
Yeah.
what's your poison?
I trade FX, mostly the majors, and I trade commodities. So only the highly liquid commodities like oil, gold, and I trade a lot of E-mini futures, NASDAQ futures, so forth. So in terms of having a macro perspective, and I also trade the Nikkei and the DAX as well. So I trade European indexes.
Okay. And
I
so
would
I'm
look
going
at probably about 26 different products, really.
That's a nice menu. So I'm guessing that your work is focused on dailies, weekly, monthlies, and then you drill down for entries on shorter time frames. Am I guessing correctly?
You absolutely are. That's exactly how I go about it.
So,
and to your question earlier about Elliott Wave, I was introduced to that with Prector back in, I guess it was kind of 92, 93, and it just resonated with me. The idea of pattern recognition was very easy for me. So that just seemed to make sense in terms of putting a framework and a price structure over a market. It just made sense to me.
can you, having been a follower of Robert Prector, and I was as well, and when he was really, spot on before he expanded and had guys like Hochberg and has a whole staff covering different instruments. Can you explain how someone with so much wisdom about the markets could have been wrong about this bull market and equities for so long?
I can only put it down to his focus on socionomics, and he's far less involved, it seems, with the intraday analysis. I mean, yeah, don't get me started on Hochberg and co.
Okay, but could it be that prior to 2007, that the nature of the markets changed as central planning became part of the market fabric that may have had an effect on what was traditional Elliott wave analysis, and the game changed?
Potentially, but I actually think it's more to do with his
A
Conquer the
bias.
Crash. Yes, exactly. His Conquer the Crash book, and seeing from the hymn book where it's all going to end, and you let that bias overwhelm the actual price action, right? Which is just crazy.
Okay. So what do you do besides trade your own account? Dario's Twitter handle is @trader_Mars. How did you come up with that handle, Mars?
My business is called Mars Capital Partners,
Okay.
And my wife
Well,
will tell you it's because my returns are out of this world, but it's more to do it's more to do with the fact that Mars was an old school nickname that came up pretty early.
that is great. All right. So you have obviously you have a fan. It's great when your wife is a fan, especially in this
Yeah,
industry.
yeah, and I'm finding out I'm very lucky because she's incredibly supportive, and she also does a lot of the analytical work for me, like commitment of traders reports, liquidity reports from central banks, and so
Wow.
it's a family business right now.
Okay. All right, Dario, you have a great story and a tremendous background, but that was yesterday. So
Yep.
here we are, the stock market. I want to talk a little bit about your macro views, and perhaps you could tie in some Elliott. And if you'd like, you have the option, if you go to the upper left-hand corner of the screen, there's a green box with a white arrow, and you'll be able to share a screen and maybe some looks. So here we
Yep.
are, the worst January in stock market history. Okay, the worst. I mean, worse than 2007, 2008, worse than the crash and bear market in the 30s. And here we are, only about 2% away from contract highs in the S&Ps, 2130. And right now, I think I'm seeing my chart up there in your box. So I'm not sure if you're in
Has
the
that
room or
changed?
not. It didn't change yet. I'm showing my Euro chart up there.
Okay. Wait, I'll try that again.
Yeah, maybe you clicked the wrong desktop. So what I'd really like to cover is basically, are you a believer?
How's
There we
that?
go. There we go. Okay, so are you a believer that just because currencies are the deepest market, bond markets dwarf stock markets and currency markets dwarf bond markets, that the dollar is a linchpin to everything that's happening here?
Yes. In a word, yes.
Okay. Okay, so we're
And
looking at, go ahead.
yeah, and kind of key for me, I mean, I was pretty happy getting along around just under around 1800 in the E-minis,
Oh,
um,
nice.
because I've been counting this out since, I don't know, I guess it's midway through last year, and particularly since November. This November top, to me, was a no-brainer to get short, and I was happy buying it back. And getting long again around 1800. So
All right,
I've had a
let
pretty
me,
good run.
okay, so you actually, when you were buying it down there, I know a lot of technicians. I mean, I talked to an E-Waver, Peter Goodburn, who's pretty good, and he's looking for 2235, and I know a lot of the bulls are talking 2400. But when we were down at 1800, were you looking for this much of a recovery, or were you looking? There were some E-Wavers that were just looking for maybe a bounce to 1970 or so before. And then a resumption of the downtrend. Did you have it identified at 1800 that there could be this much of a move? Then it looks like you think it hasn't ended yet either.
Yes. I was of the view that it was a C wave down, that whole decline, and
Okay.
very early on in the piece. So, and
Okay.
when in November, back when we made that high, it was clearly we had 3 waves down, 3 waves up, and for a flat, we needed to go down back to 1800. So, my expectation when it was down there was we were making all new highs, all-time highs.
Okay.
And it was actually yesterday I went short. But all my stuff and all my work is on my site, marscapitalpartners.com.
Okay. So you
And
went
so,
short yesterday. Let me just guess, because I'm really not an E-Waver, that your reason for getting short is that we're completing something up here, and perhaps we get a pullback down towards 2000, 1970, which is may have been wave 4, depending upon how you label it, before we get
yep.
the move, the melt up. Am I correct?
Kind of, yeah. I'm looking more towards the 1960 level as a start.
Okay. All right.
Primarily because there's no way I can count this count as it is now as an impulse. It could be a leading diagonal if you cheated a little bit, and that kind of makes the most sense. And a lot of these three-wave structures,
Yeah.
or
So
the bears may be right.
the Bears are saying this could be an ending diagonal that we just had over the last 3 weeks or so, right?
Yep, and that could absolutely be right too. But from my perspective, I'm not employed to be right. I'm employed to make money, so I don't actually care.
That's a pearl. That's a pearl. And you're self-employed, so you'd have to fire yourself if you didn't follow that dictum.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly. So I went short based on it was a lot of 4-hour MACD and momentum divergence. It looked like a complete count. I was risking 16 points to make, up to 90 points. If it's a bull case, it should get down to around here anyway, from a bullish perspective.
Even if it's bullish, 1960 is in the cards. Okay.
Yep.
So does this imply if we're going to get this pullback in S&Ps, because I've been a little confused on how the correlation with a strong dollar, because for most of this advance from the lows in February and March, we've had the market advancing with the dollar advancing at the same time. And then a few weeks ago when central banks got involved, the dollar weakened and the market still liked it. So if we're going to get a pullback to 1960, is that going to be accompanied by a dollar rally? Or
I think so.
Okay.
I think so, but dollar yen's reached kind of my first target at 108, and just a natural target. But the reason we had the flip-flop is because in that time you had also the FOMC come out, and Yellen did a backflip, which is pretty important.
Yeah,
and
she's doing a kind of a very, very subtle trichet, isn't she?
Yes, and she was very clearly signaling that the intention is to weaken the dollar and effectively join the currency wars to save China, is my guess.
Okay.
And to save the Chinese market and to stop the devaluation of the renminbi. So
you think that do you think at the last G20 meeting they had kind of a covert Plaza 2.0 accord, and that's why the dollar?
I'm not a big conspiracy theorist, and I don't know what happened in the room, but that has been the result. Okay. So price tells us everything we need to know, I think.
Okay. So we have your view. We have your view on on the market here. I know a lot of Elliotticians, and maybe the dollar downdraft isn't completed, but a lot of Elliott wave guys still think that the dollar index is incomplete, and there's one more wave to the upside to complete it above 100. Is that the way you're seeing the Dixie, or you could show us, since the euro is pretty much most of the Dixie, what your view is there?
I'm torn. My base case is this is just a large fourth wave for the Dixie.
Okay.
That's the base case.
Okay.
But I'm very aware that the environment is changing, and the question is whether or not the Fed, or Yellen in particular, can be successful and keep driving the US dollar down, or who wins this little war. So naturally, you'd expect another push up in the US dollar to new highs to make a fifth wave. And all this price action is corrective. Can't really find an impulse wave in there. It's probably better. I'll put a euro chart on there because that might actually.
All right, you bring up an interesting point. One guy, an e-waver I know, this is his statement, that because of the currency wars between global central banks, that almost everything in the FX arena is corrective rather than impulsive, like you could get in stock indices. What do you think of that statement?
I think that's actually very true since the euro bottomed, basically March last year.
Okay.
And I understand, but if you look at things like the Aussie dollar, that's not true. The Aussie dollar is still trending. Canadian dollar was still trending. So the commodity currencies
Yes.
still in trending markets, but the European indices. And I've been telling anyone who's been willing to listen for the last couple of months that I just haven't been trading I haven't been trading the Swissy, the Euro, the Pound, the Dixie, because it's just a chop fest. And I
Okay.
think it's helpful if you know that in advance, then you know what markets to avoid.
Okay. So you're going to
Yeah.
avoid ranging markets and look for trending markets, and we definitely have that in Aussie. Do you correlate the Aussie at all with the action in the gold? Because I do, and people have told me that I'm wrong. I should be paying more attention to the base metals than a precious metal like gold when correlating it with Aussie.
It has a really tight correlation with copper.
Okay, copper. All right.
Yeah. If you bring
Okay,
up
so tighter with copper than with gold.
yeah, in my view, yeah, but it's also
Okay.
it can also depend on the stage the market's in. But as you know, correlations don't stay constant; they often
That's for
change
sure.
in character.
Yeah. How about the Canadian as a petrocurrency? That correlation seems to be pretty strong up until the last week or so.
Yeah, up until the last week, absolutely. And it was quite interesting. The high in the US dollar CAD was about a point at. It was exactly to the nickel of 0.786 retracement of the previous entire low decline. So it reversed exactly where it should have.
And after that reversal, again, an E-waiver comment, I'd like your view on it, that the way the Canadian USD CAD came down and gave back all those gains in an impulsive fashion, that is a sign that a bear market is starting in USD CAD and that all rallies should be sold, which will also imply that the crude oil market has most likely bottomed.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay.
I'd
Okay,
agree with that.
because of the way it gave up all those gains, that was it.
And the way it reversed, I mean, it's just the way it reversed. The 0.786 was pretty much exactly here, and it was an impulse on the way down. This is a weekly chart, so it was impulsive
All right,
on the way down.
we're still looking at the S&P chart, buddy.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's still the
Oh.
S&P chart that you have up here. So maybe I don't know, maybe you have to stop the screen share and do it again to get another chart. Normally you could, if you just change the chart on that. Still trying to get the hang of Hangout myself, Dario.
Yep.
Okay, there we go.
How's that?
Yeah, beautiful.
I'm not sure why I keep switching every time I switch charts, but basically the decline and a three-wave up is the tell, and the impulsive nature of this decline. It's interesting where it's kind of stopped here.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so if we give up that major support level, it's possible we're looking at 120, 115 longer term.
Yeah, that would be my view.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Which in terms of oil is fairly pretty. It either made a low. Whoa, sorry.
In February at 26, or there's another retest coming?
Yeah,
You think?
and there are arguments for both cases.
Okay.
I'm going to try.
And then I want to move to gold because the headline is this is the best quarter in the gold market in I don't know how many years, 13 years, 14 years, and a lot of people looking for 1500 Super Bulls, looking for over 19 again. But let's start with this. So we have the crude here. Some Elliottians were saying this bounce was a 4 that we had from the recent lows, and that there's another wave to the downside that can retest those lows. It doesn't look like you're in that camp.
I am in that camp, but I'm open to flip-flop on that, given the nature of this decline. I mean, the upside target, which I kind of published in my post, was pretty much nailed.
Yeah.
And this is you would
I
expect.
I guessed right on that too. People thought I was crazy when I was buying it under 30, but I was saying 38 to 41. Okay,
Yep.
so even a broken clock, right, buddy?
Exactly.
Right twice a day.
Exactly. And
I'm just being humble. So, in fact, it's with the greatest of pride I'd like to announce how humble I've become. So,
look, I try to be flexible in my approach,
Yeah.
in terms of, I certainly have conviction about where levels are and where they should turn from, but then I very closely track how they trade and how they trend.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're
So
still
the bias
open.
to me is still to the downside.
Okay. So you're in that camp. So
Yes.
that probably would imply, wouldn't you think if we made new lows in the crude because of what was happening to high yield debt? I ask this because I know you're a macro guy that looks at themes, and a lot of the weakness in January in equities was based upon the fear of the junk bond market being under severe pressure. And so we've relieved that pressure. If this was a wave 4, and if we have a wave 5 down to your target, that pressure will reemerge, most likely with a stronger dollar too.
Yes, exactly.
And then
from my perspective, the high yields and also watching closely the EEM, the emerging markets, they look very bullish, and they need to burn off some of that bullishness. I think we've had a nice impulse off the lows.
Right.
And, what would be nice if crude made a marginal new low, equities made a deep retracement, but not new lows, obviously.
1860?
Yeah, exactly. And then you had emerging EEM basically have a deep kind of 50% retracement of its recent rally. And that would align all very nicely with a nice big happy buy signal, which is what I'd be doing.
Sometime in May, June.
Yep.
Okay. So, great views. I'm being edified by you. And what I like about these interviews is that I may have some ideas, and then when I talk to people and they use a different method and they're coming to the same conclusions, to me that's confluence. And I get that every day in our community because I encourage people to share their work, and there's some great traders in our community, and when one or more are pointing towards the same outcome with different methods, it actually gives me more conviction about a scenario.
Yeah, and I remembered in one of Nicola Duke's interviews, she talked about the idea of collaboration. You're competing with yourself, but you got to collaborate with the community. And being an independent trader, I absolutely get that.
Okay, so you come in and you watch the interviews. That's flattering to me. That you also,
absolutely
we're aware of my work, and I know a lot of professionals enjoy the interviews, especially if it's someone that they admire. They catch them, so that's a compliment to me. So why don't we wrap it with? Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's also in the world of social media. You rarely know who's on, if it's a robot or who's actually on the other end of that line. And I think your service and service of Chat with Traders and so forth are great because they put a face to the actual person. Yeah, I think that's valuable.
Okay. I appreciate that, and that was one of my favorite interviews up until the one with you, with Nick, and she's going to be back at the end of the month. So why don't we go to your look in the gold now, Dario, because I'm interested in how all of this, if we get this decline, this correction in S&Ps, we get this break in crude oil, that perhaps gold initially, maybe it makes one more new high. I'm a big proponent of something called the 3-drive formation.
Yeah, I've seen that.
If we got one more high or a right shoulder up here, Do you think that if we have this whiff of deflation set back in again and EM's correct halfway, that gold, I see you looking at gold around 1140. I actually think there's a shot for the 78.6 at 1100. You know, it can change, but if we got down there, that would be an aggressive buy for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. My macro view, for what it's worth, where we are today, is that everyone's talking about deflation and how it's going to ruin the world and so forth. And to the point where Yellen's now joined the party. If she gets more aggressive in terms of cutting rates again, I think my bigger picture view is I'll be looking to get very, very long gold, very, very long oil, silver, you name it, anything, if we get a decent pullback, which I kind of expect in the next few weeks.
Okay. You know, that's interesting because I think that also would tie in with the dollar top in my view, because we're talking about reflation here, and the biggest drag on the market has been the ending of a bear market, long-term bear market in commodities, and it's going to take leadership, just like this recent bounce. The oil shares have been a big part of it, the recovery in gold shares. So perhaps that's what it's going to be to get to some of those upper levels of 24, 2,500, even some Super Bulls are talking 2,900 into 2019, 2020. It's a reflation event, which makes me think that if all this plays out, the market that people have given up on being bearish on, that the short of the next 2 or 3 years could be in treasuries.
Absolutely.
Wow.
That is absolutely my view as well.
Wow. Well, you know, I am a mind. They call me Kreskin. I'm a mind reader. So you know what? You know what you've accomplished? You've accomplished putting together the whole jigsaw puzzle in 20 minutes.
Thank you.
And that, to me, that's a great presentation. And I'm so glad I reached out to you on Twitter, Dario.
No, I appreciate you did, and I often get told I only do work under pressure, so that's probably why I fit it in 20 minutes.
I'm like that too. I would procrastinate till the last minute. So let's have this final segment be, what's the best way for people to get involved with you? Do you teach a course? Do you have a course? Do you have a chat room? Do you have a signal service? What is your model for the retail trader?
I have a website, marscapitalpartners.com, and it's currently and for the foreseeable future is a free blog site. And once a week, I'll put basically all my thoughts for the markets, primary markets, whether it's gold, silver, equities, treasuries, other commodities, and FX. So that's just a free service, and I just post that. And the reason I do that, it actually helps me do my work.
Yeah,
so
it makes
I put
you
it out there
accountable
for everyone.
It
Yeah,
makes
exactly.
you more accountable to yourself when you pen it and put it out there, and and it crystallizes it for you.
Exactly, and that's kind of writing it down. It does exactly that. Helps crystallize it. So,
I mean, I've become a better trader. I've become a better trader the last 3 years from crystallizing my views every day with the community and collaborating with the community. It's a pretty lonely business, so how do you, besides working with your wife, how do you cope with the solitude of being a trader?
I keep pretty busy. I do have a couple of consulting gigs where I consult with a couple of hedge fund managers in the US, in Canada and in the US, so I do some work with them. So I do stay active in the community from that perspective. But it's also social media.
Okay.
It's helpful.
Okay. So basically, you don't have a service to sell. You just put something out for free?
Yep.
Okay.
I try to intend on make my money from actually trading.
That's a great credibility point for yourself.
Thank you.
Okay, so you know, a lot of people, myself included, I can't completely rely upon my trading outcomes, and I seem to trade better when I have other revenue streams, so that
Yep.
I'm not as, because otherwise I don't know how you overcome it. But if it's my only revenue stream, and I talk about this with people, I'll find myself sometimes not being able to be patient. I'll start going from pair to pair and say, I hear this thought in my head, I need to find a trade.
Yeah,
And you got to
I mean,
delete that. You got to delete that.
yeah, and I absolutely felt that early on, but I think over time, it's just the nature of my trading is that it is longer term, so patience is required. And in the meantime, I live up in the mountains, so I can go skiing during the winter
Yeah, it's wow, it
or
sounds
go fly
beautiful.
fishing in the summer.
Wow, you're living the dream, buddy. And thanks
Thank
for
you.
and thanks for sharing with us what got you to that point,
Oh,
and
thanks for
giving
having
us
me. I
some
really appreciate it, Dale.
and giving us some views that I think are excellent to give people some longer term ideas and scenarios and entry points that could perhaps help them accomplish what they're trying to accomplish in the marketplace. And I'd be happy if you would accept that from now on I will call you my trading warrior brother.
I would love that. Thank you very
All
much,
right.
Dale, and appreciate you having me on and the great service you provide.
Okay, so everyone, please thank Dario Mofardin at Trader Underline Mars for sharing some great views with us today. I encourage you at the minimum to follow him on Twitter and check out his blog, and here is something else for your intelligence gathering, because this was a very intelligent, insightful, thoughtful interview by Dario. I told you that this guy was elite, and I think this presentation confirmed that.
Thanks again,
Good
Dale.
hunt.
Much appreciated.
All right, good hunting, buddy.
Cheers. You too.
All
Take
right,
care.
keep in touch. We'll do this again. Is it a deal?
Absolutely. Will do.
All right, Dario.
Okay.
Thank you
Take
for your
care.
time today. Okay, everybody, so I think we're starting to run out of time here. Did everyone enjoy Dario? I think we had some great interviews. We had a great session. I'm a robot. Yeah, I'm a robot. I'm like the robot on Lost in Space. Anyone remember that robot? Dr. Robinson. Okay, everyone, here's my quick wrap up. Euro held the 200. You know, I still see a two drive formation. I don't know, it really wouldn't completely surprise me to still see 115 being tagged here. I think cable shook out everyone under this 142 level. Look at this on the daily. Still, I agree that there's still some more dollar downside, a little bit left dollar downside. And euro pound, I'm laying for it. As I said earlier in the session, I wanted to see one more high in euro pound, and I think we're going to get it. And next time the RSI should stay under 70 like it did here on the 4 hour, but I'm looking for it to do the same and give me confirmation on the 1. And the 1 hour was over 70, and after this pullback we had, if we get one more rally to above this high and the RSI is under 70, I think you have a nice shorting opportunity there. Give me a Y if you get it. And in the meantime, I want to thank everyone for their contributions. I showed as many as I could before our interview. I want to thank Ron and Sinatra and Jake and Cyric, all you guys who showed charts, Ibby, Bart, Mystic, Goldie, all my trading warrior brothers, Pipper, Yevgen, welcome to Lar, Brooke, Adinda, GM, Mauricio, Mr. 1776. Good hunting the rest of the day, everybody. Good luck. We'll wrap up the week tomorrow. Nice work, Larians, and remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. I count getting to know each and every one of you that are here today and those that have passed through LAR in the last 3 years as a blessing in my life. So thank you, everyone, and I'll see everyone tomorrow. Adios. L'chaim, to life, l'chaim. See you, Luca. Thank you, Pipper. You're welcome, 76. Adios.